welcome to 23 Degrees Sideways. It's been like 4 days that I have been on the road. I'm driving across the country again, and I haven't been able to actually make a video because I've been dealing with 30 to 50 mile an hour windstorms the entire time. Literally have not had a point where I didn't have so much noise going on, even when parked, that I could record. So we're going to do a little thing here. Let's talk about mud society. Now, when I say mud society, you know, there's going to be a lot of people who are very, I don't know what it is, racially conscious or scared of movements or something, who are going to think that we're talking about some sort of racial thing about people who do or don't have a certain skin tone or some shit like that. I don't care. That's not what I'm talking about. The reference to mud is actually a Scientology reference. It's a squirrel or free zone reference. So in the free zone, there are people who use the various popular psychology types of technologies that were integrated into Scientology, and they use them, and they're called squirrels by the church because the idea is that squirrels make nuts. So even though Scientology is not a mental therapy, basically it's a spiritual mental therapy kind of thing. If you do it wrong, you're going to make people nuts. That's the whole idea. So in squirrel speak, there's something called the mud universe, and that is the universe below ours. Ours is called the STEM or MEST universe, okay? STEM is space-time, energy, matter. Those two dualities. Space-time is a thing, energy, matter is a thing. Basic physics, right? We all know this. So the STEM universe, which is a hilarious acronym, but I think the churchies call it MEST. I don't know why they swap the letters around the way they do. I think STEM sounds better. But that is a universe, and then there's higher universes and lower universes. And this is not necessarily a physical universe, like you literally move to another universe, but it can also be sort of a spiritual space that you're in. Okay? And above STEM you have magic, and then you have the various deity-like planes of existence. And then below STEM, below the physical universe, where it's, you know, fight, strive, survive, grow, win, succeed, you have the mud universe. And the basic thing of the mud universe, you can think of it as the psychic vampire universe, or the Matrix, but without the positive aspects. So imagine the Matrix, where everyone's plugged in and they're just being fed off of, but they're all in a state of depressive apathy. Okay? Depression, apathy. But they're just chugging along. They don't have enough energy to kill themselves, right? They're just depressive apathy. So you feed off of them. Well, the thing about that is that we have created societies in the past that are basically like that. Mud societies. And it's one aspect of a poorly run feudalism, for example. Feudalism that is based on the bondage of the peasant to the soil, as opposed to, you know, there are positive types of feudalism. Some eras of Roman history for some people were a more positive type of feudalism. There's differences there. Socialism in general is very much mud society. You have a bunch of people who exist only to serve the state, and the state basically functions like a bunch of psychic vampires, except they're actually physical resource vampires as well. They live off of you. It's very much socialism. You can get that with any power structure, because people are going to say, oh, that's capitalism. It's not, okay? I mean, it's not really. There's a couple definitions of capitalism right now, and capitalism as a political movement can actually look pretty much like that. But capitalism as an economic model is actually one that provides more freedom and more ability. It's very much a STEM construct or STEM society construct instead of a mud society construct. But socialism is always a mud society construct. And there's never a positive about it, you know. Every once in a while you'll get a poster, "Be workers of the world unites, be strong." But that's not what happens, okay? That's not what you actually see. And my biggest fear right now is that our society is going to slowly slip into mud. So it's not fear the way most people conceive of fear. It's my primary game concern. If we consider lives, your multiple lifetimes, whatever, society, everything as a game, I have a game concern where I don't want to slide into a mud society. That's the biggest negative situation we can encounter right now. I would much rather observe a hot civil war, a global war, rather than have it just sort of slip into mud. And there's lots of parallels in history. I'm not going to use a whole lot of them right now because everyone gets hung up on it. But what we're dealing with right now is we're dealing with people who want to take away your freedom, your your livingness, your positivity, your identity, your pride, piece by piece by piece. Okay? Whether it's a Confederate flag or the fact that you have a paycheck or the fact that you can identify gender, anything positive, they slowly strip it away. It's your privilege, it's your this, it's your that. It's always something negative if it's not something that they have provided and assigned you. And that's pretty much a key element. And it's not always explicitly stated, but you'll notice that anything that you do, anything that's independent, anything that's self-creative is going to be hammered. Okay? So pay attention to that for a moment. And think about the mud society. We've just gone through the year 2020. And the year 2020 started off when one of the most positive aspects of modern American history. People were working, building businesses, opening businesses, property values going up. It was looking like a spring that we haven't had anything like this since the post-war 40s. The boom, the big boom of the early baby boom. It was looking that good, okay? We were about to break all of the records. Unemployment was down to levels that were almost ridiculous, okay? Almost at the point where anyone left unemployed is unemployed because they're taking 3 days off between jobs, right? Just amazing stuff. Think about how positive that is. I don't care what your political views are. Look at last January. Last January, we were dealing with a at least century-level economic boom. Everything was going fantastic. Within a year, we have people begging for permission to serve food. We have more businesses out of business, permanently out of business forever, than we've had businesses open in the last decade. Like, it's complete crap. It's mud, and everything has been taken away from you. Your social interactions have been taken away from you. Your family connections are taken away from you. You're supposed to feel guilty if you go give your mom a hug. Think about that. It's mud. It's mud. You're supposed to live in apathy, anxiety, agoraphobia. furthest you can rise out of apathy is abject fear. That's what they're doing. And they do it a piece at a time, a little piece at a time. Right now I'm getting, my feed is full of articles about how to reasonably talk people into wearing masks because they're important. No, they're not. We've proven that time and time again. They're a social control mechanism. But now it's like how to get those poor people who don't understand to follow along, you know? The priests of the Temple of Syrinx are out there, and they really want to control you. You know, the vaccines come out right at the right time to catch the new dangerous version of the virus that means that you'll never be safe because the vaccines won't cover that one. So you're going to have to social distance and mask and close all your businesses and stay home and die for another year or 3. They're literally talking about 3 years. 2023 before we start opening parks. This is bizarre. This is weird. And it's the mud. That's the thing, is it's an inch at a time. It's a little step. You know, you're supposed to feel bad or guilty or anything but proud if you do have a job, especially if you're male or white or both, or have voted Republican at some point in your time. It's an inch at a time. You're not allowed to tell these jokes anymore. You're not allowed to talk freely in public. The self-censorship that people have is insane. People whisper to each other to talk about just jokes or something that happened on the news. It's that inch by inch creation of a mud society that concerns me, because you can't point to anything and say, this I will fight, because everyone around you is going to be like, well, it's just a little thing. But it's just a little thing 10 times a month, 100 times a year. It's just a little thing, but it adds up, and you end up at a point where you don't have any freedom, you don't have any self-control, you don't have anything left. That is what I worry about. I worry because it's very hard to rebel against that. It's very hard to stand up and say, this is my line in the sand, this I will not do. Because you're going to be alone. You're going to be perceived as being alone, because most of society is going to be like, well, it's just a little thing. Just take this vaccine. Just wear the mask. Just a little thing. Where's your line? It's the mud society. It scares the crap out of me in game terms. Now, how do you fight that? One of the ways you fight that is to make sure that people around you know that you will support their independence. Okay? We have an entire, I've been driving, I've got some videos to do about driving. We have an entire half of the country, 90% of the land, half the people that don't want to comply, that they're literally not going to comply with whatever happens after January 6th. Okay? But it's easier to not comply if you know that your neighbors are going along with it. Okay? It's fine to say, yeah, the federal government is going to regulate everything and I can't put a pond on my farm anymore because Trump's not president anymore. Okay? It's fine to say that and then say, I'm not going to comply, I'm just going to do it. But it's a lot easier to just say, I'm going to do it if all of your neighbors are with you, or some of your neighbors are with you. If there's people who are going to stand at the road and stop the EPA from coming in, if you have help, if you want to sell raw milk, if you want to butcher your own cow, if you want to, whatever, drive down a road without a mask on, whatever it is, it's easier if you have support. So the big key to preventing mud society in 2021 is communication. is support. Don't judge the acts of independence. Just support them. Okay? It would be better by far if these were all positive acts. Some will be, some won't be, but support the acts of independence. You don't have to agree. You don't have to make it a religious thing. Okay? For so many people, especially in the libertarian community, it's religion. You agree with me 100% or you are Satan. Don't do that. That's not what we're doing. Support the acts of rebellion. Support the independence. Support cash economies. Support local growers. Don't worry about local growers working with the USDA. Just support them. Work together in your non-compliance and prevent the mud society. And stay sideways.